All right, we are live. This is the Paranormal Night Stalker. As long as it's going out to the right, all the right channels. I got like 8 on my damn list. I don't know how I'm doing half the time. I am, of course, Joel Wooden. This is with always with me and Dr. Michael Smith. And tonight we're going to be going into the realm of Hollywood, where we're going to be taking a look at the Conjuring 785. I don't know how many movies it made now. The Devil Made Me Do It. Of course, like with all the Conjurings, it's based on a true story, and it's loosely based on a true story. It may have seen a true story at one time, but I'm not sure exactly how based it is in reality. Of course, I'm not. No, yeah, actually, I kind of am. I've been having a weird feeling about the Warrens here for the past couple of years, getting looking at a lot of their stuff and kind of especially since the Conjurings have come out. I'm not liking what I see, and not so much with the movies, because you got to understand. And me and Michael both automatically, when we watch one of those movies, we watch it for what it is. It's a entertainment piece. You know, it's not like you watch a movie for the educational value, because there's just nothing there. I mean, and that's one of the things we were going to be talking about. When you can say, "Oh, actually, I'm wearing my shirt from my other the other podcast. I'm wearing my shirt from it." But we were talking about some of the idolatry that's in it.
Yeah.
Like one of the big ones that I've always thought was hilarious is everybody, when they do anything with devil worship or anything evil, the first thing they do is pop an upside down cross, because that's satanic. It's not. It's the St. Peter's cross, and it's actually considered to be deeply holy by the Catholic Church. And of course, if anyone watching does have questions or anything like that, you can put, even regardless of what platform you're on, if you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, any of the three, you can put your comment in, and it will automatically come up to me, and I will put it forth on the screen. We'd be glad to answer any questions that you guys have. That's basically what we do anyway. I mean, we spend most of our time going through even stuff on Facebook and doing answering stuff on there the best we can, or totally ignoring it depending on how crazy it's at. But we were looking at some of the idolatry behind what they were doing. Of course, they brought in a lot of witchcraft, things of that nature with this movie. And I guess I guess start with the background of what the actual story was supposed to be.
Well, let me go back a little bit. The cross of St. Peter, or the Petrine, and they're spelled Petrine, it was an inverted Latin cross, traditionally used as a Christian symbol, but in recent times also used as an anti-Christian symbol. In Christianity, it is associated with the martyrdom of St. Peter, martyrdom of Peter the Apostle. The symbol originates from the Catholic tradition that when sentenced to death, Peter requested that his cross be upside down, as he felt unworthy of being crucified in the same manner as Jesus. The Petrine cross is also associated with the papacy reflecting the Catholic belief that the Pope is the successor of Peter as Bishop of Rome. However,
And
that little morsel of tidbit information there, every ghost show you watch, oh, it's an inverted cross. That's the sign of that's the mocking of the. But they never tell you all of it.
and see, if I'm not mistaken, and I do know that it does have some base in the Church of Satan, at least in the, I believe the was it Anton Levine?
Yeah, Anton LaVey, I think it is.
LaVey, that's it, LaVey, Anton LaVey. Sorry, uh, he took a lot of religious symbol symbolism and just mixed it around. He even, like, one of the prayers that he did was a version of the Lord's Prayer, just with different words in it. You know, things like that. And that was during what, the 70s? So that's when a lot of that started picking up steam. And I don't put down, because I've actually known members of the Church of Satan. I'm not trying to put down that faith in any way, shape, or form. Trust me when I tell you that. Much like I have my opinions of Aleister Crowley, I have my opinions of, you know, him as well. And I think, you know, well, I think one thing, the people I know from that were actual members of the Church of Satan these were good people. I mean, they were just normal people like us. And that's where I think this symbolism and all of this, you got to realize that they don't acknowledge the existence of the devil. So why would they use these symbols that are supposed to represent this evil? I mean, their basic belief is do what makes you happy as long as you're not hurting anyone. I mean, it is very staunchly against discrimination. And I'm not, by all means, I'm not on here trying to promote Satanism. I'm just saying that, you know, there is a gross misunderstanding of the representation of the real members of the Church of Satan versus what you've seen on television and Crowley, or
that's what you get. That's what you get, though. Really, when you, I think if you're going to tell the facts of something, you should tell them all. Like when, you know, you get these shows talking about, oh, the inverted cross is a sign of Satanism or the devil or whatever, you know. But tell the story, tell the background, tell about the cross of Peter's cross, and the papacy, and tell it all. Tell about how the symbol was then later used as an anti-Christian symbol. But tell it all. If you're going to give information to someone that they can use or for their knowledge, tell it all.
Don't give the knowledge that fits your criteria. And I do want to point something out, because, like I said, I know there's going to be a lot of people, especially dealing with talking about Church of Satan and things like that. I am not. And if you notice, I actually wear a Catholic saint medal around my neck all the time. That is actually from the Vatican. So that is my faith. I'm just saying that that if you're going to represent the church, you know, they're just like all Christianity is not represented by Jonesboro Baptist. You know, neither is the Church of Satan by Anthony or what the crap is his name? Just Levy? LeVay. I keep forgetting it. How? And I don't know why I keep forgetting that name. Or Aleister Crowley.
Levy is. I don't know who Levy is.
Who?
I don't know who Levy is, but
I don't know. It's LeVay. Is Anton LeVay.
Yeah.
Is this guy's name. I just keep forgetting it. But now, you got anything else you want to put on that?
I don't think so. I just think that, you know, if you're going to be a student of the paranormal, if you're going to study the paranormal, you know, and the symbology of things, the connectedness of things, of religions and of symbols and of beliefs, you know, study it all. Don't skew it to fit your own belief system, because you cannot be a legitimate researcher, I don't think, and help somebody else if your own belief system overrides your ability to look at someone else's point of view, especially when you're dealing with a client or someone, you know, who needs help with a paranormal situation. You have to think about their belief system, what they believe is happening, the way they look at things, not yours. certainly you're entitled to your own beliefs, and that's fine, but you have to deal with the situation from their perspective, to make them feel better, not just you. So if you're going to deal with these things, you should be fair and balanced in your research, and objectively examine all sides of something and get as much knowledge out of it as you can.
That is very true. Now we are going to go into more symbolism in a little bit because I've got to find a way to tiptoe around this. I don't want anybody having fits over us giving anything away, even though it is based on a true story. So most people that have watched that movie are probably going to have at some point read the actual story. And in that case, surprise, surprise, you already know how it ends. I mean, so, but one thing I do want to give a little bit of a backstory to at least what I remember reading when it actually, I don't think when it actually happened, but close to when it happened. And definitely the Warren's book that was written about it right after, right from their case files by Ed and Lorraine Warren, rather than by a director or screenwriter or whatever. Basically, the story is that there was a child that had been possessed by some type of demon, or what they were saying was a demon, and they had been fighting it for some time, and the boy was a young boy. I can't remember exactly how old, but we're talking preteen, probably like 9, 10 years old, somewhere in that area, and had started having severe health effects because of the exorcisms and the things that were going on with him. If you want to look at what can happen to a person, you can watch the film The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which is based on the story of Anneliese Michel, which was German, and they took a healthy, vibrant young woman, and by her death, she had lost like 80 pounds, had not been eating, just a living skeleton, basically. And so you could see that when you see these people that do exorcisms, and I'm not getting on this soapbox right now. This is not neither here nor there, but you see a lot of people doing exorcisms on YouTube or over the internet in some cases and things of that nature. Exorcisms are not pretty and they're not short.
No.
The real deals are they will shake you down to the very very fabric of your being. It is a conflict. It is a fight, and it is a fight for everyone involved in it, both the victim of the possession and the people performing the exorcisms. It's a different. They're cut from a different cloth to be an exorcist. And so that's why I think I've put that in there just because, like I said, this wasn't something that was done overnight. This was done over many, 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 many nights, and he had started getting severe health effects. But so his sister, her boyfriend was assisting in this, and he was finally tired of seeing the boy attacked and told whatever was there, if you want to possess somebody, possess me. And the exorcism stopped. Everything started to seem to go back to normal. They had assumed the exorcism worked. And as Dr. Michael has always quoted with me, assumption being the mother of all fuck ups. That's exactly what happened here. The boy goes, the young man, the boyfriend of the victim's sister, goes home. Sometime later, he goes into work, and they had in the movie he killed one person, but in reality, if I remember right, I thought it was two. But these people were actually his very close friends, so it was very unusual for there to be conflict with them. And he was arrested and charged with murder. So that is where we come into it. Of course, the reason it says the devil made me do it is the Warrens, his defense attorney, for whatever reason, decided to go with this defense. She actually puts forward the defense of not guilty by reasons of demonic possession. I am a paranormal investigator. I very much believe in things we do not know and I cannot explain, and I do believe there are very powerful and very dark things that do possess us. I would never use that as a defense in a court of law. I would call insanity. I'd call drug use. I would have called anything
before
this.
that.
Now, the simple fact of it is, no.
I mean, from a legal, and I'm not a lawyer, but from a legal standpoint, that is asinine on the face of it.
Well, they made one very, very good point. And again, I'm not trying to give anything away, because basically, if you've watched the previews or you read the book before, then you know that this is how it went. But they did write one very good thing into this, and it's something I do believe the Warrens used in trying to convince the court and the attorney of these things, was when they had the person go on the stand and say, "Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" They are acknowledging the presence of the supreme being of good. If you are going to acknowledge the presence of the supreme being of good, you have to acknowledge there could be a presence of something that is the opposite.
That's true.
And there's a very valid point to that.
There is, but not in a legal sense. Because think of what would happen. Think of what would happen if by some stretch of the imagination, the judge would have allowed that in. First off, it would have been overturned. It would have gone all the way to the Supreme Court probably and been overturned. But every person that was ever convicted of a murder or did any violent crime or anything has an immediate appeal. Because all they have to say is
possessed.
Well, and how do you it's like everything else in the paranormal. It's not disprovable. You can't test it to prove it one way or the other.
Exactly. And that is the only thing in a court of law, and everyone needs to remember when dealing with the court of law. When you introduce something, say this defense of the devil made me do it, you are actually you're putting the burden of proof on you. You have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt
the devil made you do it
to be true. This is the truth, and this is how it happened. And that's where it gets tricky, because again, we go back to being paranormal researchers. I can go in the most haunted location in the world, and one day I may get a full-bodied apparition, 50,000 EVP, smacked in the head, and all of this amazing things happening. I could go in there the very next day and none of it will happen.
Yeah. So it's not, it's not scientifically provable. It's not repeatable. It's not verifiable. There's no way to use a scientific method on any of it.
The only thing I would put is going into the court with this. You have two people who are acknowledged as the experts in their field, which are the Warrens. You have their recordings of these things going on. You have their pictures. They have their videos.
But you gotta look. Let's go back, and I'm sorry, I got to go back on that one a little bit. But you got to remember, at that time, there was nobody in their field. Not really. There were the Warrens, and there was Hans Holzer.
Yeah.
And then there was the Society for Psychical Research and people at Ryan doing things with psychics and stuff like that. And later on you had men like William Roll and stuff come up and do things a lot, and other people too. But back then, hell, there wasn't anybody else.
No,
They were the
not
only
really.
game. They were the only damn game in town.
Very true.
I mean,
So
if you look at all the big cases of the era back then, if they weren't invited to come and be in part of it, they tried to shoot their way into it.
pretty much.
So
A lot like the infield haunting.
yeah.
Yeah, they did make a conjuring about that, and they weren't even there. They were told they were not welcome. So,
Yeah, I know.
The whole the conjuring about the infield haunting, that wasn't. There was actually no truth to that. It was based on a true story because the infield haunting did happen, but the Warrens weren't part of it. But like I said, and you make a very valid point. In order for normally for even like let's go into forensic evidence and things like that and accept science. In order for those things to be used in a court of law, the defense and the prosecution have to be able to both bring in their experts and have their experts go over the evidence themselves. Well, as you said, at this time, really there was only the Warrens. So who's going to cover them?
And there are no experts.
Well, I'm using, just in general, as would be recognized in the court of law.
Who would you get? Because you would have to call an expert witness to come in. You'll call the defense calls one, the prosecution calls a different one, and then you have to decide. The jury has to decide which one they want to believe.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. And in this particular case, there's no one for the prosecution to call.
Yeah, because because Ed Warren, I mean, and I'm not anti-Warren. I mean, Ed Warren was, as far as I know, the only lay exorcist that was ever authorized by the Catholic Church in an emergency to perform exorcism. He was a layman. He wasn't ordained. He was the only lay exorcist I think that they had.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge.
And I know that Mrs. Warren was actually, her psychic ability was tested extensively at Ryan. J.B. Ryan tested for himself. And Louisa Ryan, she was tested and she did quite well on the tests that they set up. So she was a real deal as far as her psychic ability was concerned. As far as what was done at Ryan, I've seen pictures of the sessions on the website at Ryan, and one of the books I saw pictures of her there at Ryan during testing. But so they were the real deal. They were by no means fraudulent. And we're not trying to say they were. They were the real deal, and they were good at what they did. They kept meticulous notes. But when you're talking about something that's an actual case file versus a screenplay for a movie, there's a lot of legality that goes on there.
That's exactly it. And there were a few things that, like I said, I remember them talking about this. I don't actually remember the defense attorney taking the stand of not guilty by reason of demonic possession. Because
that'd be a hard stretch to make.
Yeah, that'd be a tough road to hoe. Honestly, it would. And I think in a defense attorney's,
you'd have to be, and even then, the safest course of action, because a lot of times things that mimic demonic possession in a clinical sense are the same things that you see in severe mental disorder.
And that's exactly what I think a lawyer would have went with.
He would have went with mental defect. They could have went something like that. I'm guilty of mental defect or insanity, or whatever, like anything. They could have went with it, and they would have probably had a better shot.
And I think they would have went with that, just honestly, because of the simple fact that it was used as a punchline for a joke for years. The devil made me do it, and that's why I think they would have probably went with reasons of insanity, and probably put the guy in a mental institution and on whatever. But now let's get into what we really were looking at here, which was the symbolisms and things of that nature. Now, I by no means am an expert at symbolism. I'll be the first to admit that. But what I have done and what we have gone over a lot is using trying to break the preconceived knowledge of a lot of people with what they see on TV or in movies versus reality, because basically the way Hollywood looks at stuff is that they look at it and go, okay, does this look creepy? And then they run with it. Then you also have the things of like the pentagram versus the pentacle, things of that nature. This was a symbol that was demonized by the Church of England, just because basically they outlawed all, and the Catholic Church as well, outlawed all forms of idolatry from paganism. So a lot of the things that we perceive as evil, satanic, and that is just a symbol that may have been part of a different faith that the Catholic Church or the Church of England, when it came in and was trying to remove the paganism from the different countries that they were coming into, which parts of England, Ireland, Scotland, of course, that when the Saxons were coming, the Saxon wars and all that, they were, or not Saxons, but Viking Saxons. They were coming in. They were trying to push Christianity out, and by pushing Christianity out or moving Christianity out, they were pushing the paganism away. So that's where we get a lot of our symbolisms that we look at as being evil. It's because we are seeing them through the eyes of the church that first encountered them. And that's why, like, they had her sitting there with candles, and supposedly this was done as a curse and black magic, which I always laugh. And Michael could probably tell you a lot better on that one than I could. But I always laugh about the fact that they use black magic or something like that. When I've said it over and over again, and so has Michael, that there is no real like black magic. There's just magic.
There's magic. Yeah, magic is not good or bad. It just is. I mean, and then there's the threefold law. And the threefold law in magic is whatever you send out, you get back 3 times. 3 times bad, 3 times good. If you work a magic, and if you work some magic, and it's beneficial to someone else, it's a helping thing, and you get 3 times the good back to you. If you do a spell that's intended to harm someone or cause someone harm or to subvert their free will, then you get that negativity back on you 3 times. It's called the threefold law. a prime example of symbolism. I'll look it up here on my phone as we're talking. I mean, I knew this before, but I wanted to verify before I said it. A prime example of a symbol, and this is a very delicate subject, but a prime example of a symbol that was actually a religious symbol that was obfuscated into something horrible. Probably the most horrible thing in the world in modern times is the swastika.
Yeah.
The swastika is actually an ancient religious icon from the cultures in Eurasia. And it was used in various religions, Indian religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. And depending on the direction of whether it be oriented left or right, had different meaning. And of course, it was obfuscated by the Nazi Party before and during World War II into something we know it as today. So whatever it was before, it has been tainted so bad by what it was used for later that now, whenever you see it, the only thing that comes to mind for most people is the negative connotation of it.
Right.
The pentagram.
It will never go back to being what it was.
No, the pentagram, the 5-pointed star with the point facing up, is it symbolizes earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. When it's inverted with the 2 points at the top, it is a symbol for Baphomet, the horn god. If you look at it, the 2 points of the horn at the top, the bottom point is the jaw, the mouth. And if you look up Baphomet, you'll see he often wears an inverted pinnacle around his neck. It was made popular in the TV series. Was it Netflix? It was Sabrina, the Teenage Witch.
Oh yeah,
the new one that came out here just recently.
Mm.
That character featured prominently in that series. And Joe, we have another video series that we do on Paranormal 101. We did our first episode a couple of nights ago, and if you want, you can find that on YouTube. And where else is it, Joe? It's on YouTube. It's on Twitch.
I think it's on Twitch. It should be on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. All at Night Stalker Pod. We are talking about the movie The Devil Made Me Do It, with talking over symbolisms and things like that from the new Conjuring movie. Agatha is putting this in from, looks like, YouTube.
Yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, I just put it up on the main screen. We're just going over some of the symbolism and things that were used in the movie The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Covering a little bit of the story just to kind of go over some of the things. But yeah, that and seeing the table with it carved in, and like I said, with the black candle. Sorry, folks, I still have this COVID cough. Is basically what they call it. I had the vaccine for COVID-19, and I didn't get any of the symptoms really, except I got a dry throat and a cough, and it. So I've been popping cough drops there for the past couple of days to try to keep that under somewhat control without going completely bonkers and hacking up a lung live on the internet. But that's why I have to keep popping these cough drops in. But yeah, we are just covering so that, and actually, I always want to talk about that too because that symbol of Bahamut or whatever, that was actually that was actually a symbol that was discovered by the Templar Knights, and basically, as you know, the Templar Knights was sent by the Catholic Church into the Holy Land under basically the rule of you guys go forth and do things and take stuff for us, and you get to keep the stuff we don't want. They were looking for the Holy Grail. This was during the Crusades and the Church of England, rather. I keep on getting the Catholic Church crossed over in my head tonight for some reason. But anyway, so they sent them out. Well, once the Templar Knights started getting more power and more control than the Catholic Church or the Church of England. Might have been the Catholics. Now I'm thinking about it. Damn, I can't remember.
Well, the Crusades. The Crusades were yeah, that was one of the popes did that. That was one of the popes who started the
That was before the break off. That was before the separation from the Church of England and Catholic Church. Okay, so they go, but they found out the Vatican found out that they were becoming far richer and more powerful than they anticipated. So basically, in the middle of the Crusades, they come out and say, well, the Templar Knights have made a deal with the devil. Look what this symbol that they use, and we've got to destroy them. So they became wanted.
Well, the main reason they got wanted was because they got rich.
Exactly. Like I said, they were becoming far more powerful than the Catholic Church because they were taking over farmland. They were taking over all of this stuff, and they were the Catholic Church basically, instead of paying them, they were basically mercenaries that were not being paid.
Now, as far as you talk about the candles, candle magic is a form of magic that a lot of people use. Different disciplines have different meanings for the colors. Generally speaking, if it's black, it's for psychic protection. You'll see people wear like a
crystals.
Yeah, black crystals like onyx or things like that are used to ward off negative energy. Same thing with the black candles. You light a black candle to ward off negativity. White candles are for serenity and peace. Green are for prosperity. You know, blue connects your chakras. Now, different traditions within, say, like within witchcraft, different traditions have different meanings for things. You know, like the candles may have a color might be different for a different tradition, but generally speaking, those are kind of some of the basic ones.
Yeah.
So somebody showing a black candle, you know, in the sense that, you know, and most people like Wiccans are not Satanists. You know, they don't have anything to do with dark magic or use of magic for bad intent, because there is no good and bad magic. There's just magic, like we've said. But you know, most Wiccans are people that they respect the Wiccan read and the threefold law, and they do what they do, and they don't hurt anybody. It's a recognized religion, and it kind of gets a bad rap because people see it and they automatically lump it in with something negative, and it's not. But that's kind of what happens, and Hollywood had a lot to do with that.
Hollywood has a lot to do, period. And it's most of it. I mean, it's people assuming that what they see on TV or in a movie is fact. Like you were talking about those candles there, the black candles. Okay, there's a specific scene in this movie that the woman playing Lorraine Warren is projecting to this person who's supposed to, and she's doing a dark ritual. I see her lighting black candles. This is a black mass or a black Sabbath. She actually calls it a black Sabbath. And I was kind of, and that term in itself, when she's like, you must stop this black Sabbath, I was like, I don't see Ozzy anywhere. And as far as I know, a Sabbath isn't a practice of, it's a, it's not the wording was completely wrong in the scene. And like I said, you see her standing with the book and this chalice sitting in the middle of this pentagram and lighting black candles and all, and it's done for the effect. It looked great. It's this dark stone, like cavern and all this. So the effects were perfect for our horror movie, which you ultimately got to remember that's exactly what this is. This is a scary movie. It was meant to scare you. The problem is whenever you put based on a true story, they assume what you're seeing is true, and it's not. Like I said, this is loosely based on a true story.
Well,
The events happened, but
and I'll give you this, and here's another part of it. The Wiccan Sabbats. There's Yule, which is the winter solstice, which is basically Christmas time. It's December 20th, 21st, 22nd, or 23rd, depending on the calendar. Imbolc, or Candlemas, which is February 1st or 2nd. The spring equinox, or Oster, which is March 20, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, which basically corresponds to Easter.
Right.
Beltane, or May Day, is April 30th or May 1st. Litha, which is the summer solstice or midsummer, is June 20th, 21st, 22nd, or 23rd, depending on the calendar. Lunasa, which is August 1st. Mabon, which is the fall equinox or the harvest, 20th, 21st, 22nd, or 23rd of September. Then Samhain, or Samhain, which is All Halloween. That's the big one for the Wiccans and the witches is Halloween time. It's a time when the veil between the worlds is thin and the ancestors are remembered. Those are the Wiccan Sabbats. There are 8 of them. There is no, and I know this from experience, there is no mass that's done where, at least in the Wiccan traditions that I know for sure, where there's a mass done that's done to honor any dark deity or a sacrifice of a human or something like that. that in
No,
modern times that's not done. It's not accurate.
even to an extent, the actual what is existing, the origins of the Wiccan religion that is existing, they didn't even do that then.
No.
Back in time.
Oh no.
Um,
But you get this Hollywood bastardization of a people, of a belief system. You say the word pagan or you say the word witch like it's a bad thing. Bless her heart, stars. She was here. Oh, she'd be all up in this conversation.
Oh, this was. Ooh. We've probably gotten kicked off the air by now because she got all fired up.
Oh yeah, we've been filming lawsuits and every damn thing else. But I mean, to look all this together, and this is all part of the paranormal. I mean, you have to think about, you'll see, you go somewhere and you'll see symbology. You'll see symbology from Wiccan. You'll see symbology um, from the books of Solomon. You'll see symbology from the Kabbalah. The Jewish mysticism. You'll see symbology from all over. Symbology is a study all of its own, a lifelong learning of it that is never complete because you go all the way back to Egypt and to Greece, and there's symbology there of all these religions and these different deities and symbols.
Basically, before we started writing history, we used symbology.
Yeah, because there were no words. There were no. It was hieroglyphs. It was glyphs on walls.
So you can go all the way back to like the original civilizations of the world, and you'll find some form of symbolism to mark things and mark what they were doing.
Well, yeah, the passage of the seasons, the times for the harvest, when did the game come through, where's the water at, things that they needed to know to stay alive.
It was funny. We were when I was in Canada, we were looking. There was a place we thought we were going to do an investigation at. We were getting everything lined up, and it was an abandoned building, and there was spray paint all over. Kids gone in there and they spray painted all over it. And it was funny because when I first started working with Pete, and I remember we were sitting there having a conversation about it, and the other two dingleberries were there. And they were like, well, this has got this painted on the wall, and this has got that painted on the wall. And Pete looks at me and goes, have you seen it? I said, yeah, I saw it. He goes, Hollywood or real? Hollywood. And he goes, okay. That was just it. It was like, what were we looking at here? Was it Hollywood or was it real? And I went, no, it was Hollywood stuff. Okay. I was like, drunk kids hanging out in the house at night. Yeah, that was it. And I always got a kick out of that. The way it was actually asked was, is it real symbols or is it Hollywood? And then, like I said, of course, they were Hollywood. Oh.
Well, I mean, there's so much to that, and the symbols are a fascinating subject. They really are.
Oh, yes, they are.
I know because I've read many, many books on that, and I by no means am I an authority on it at all.
No. That's the thing about symbolism and what we understand about symbolism. And I'm using the Queen's we as in everybody because it's just what how we're taught. I too I have been fascinated by symbolism. I have owned books on symbolism before, and it's barely scratching the surface of symbolism. Actually, this is nothing to do with the paranormal, but great details about symbolism and symbology. read any of Dan Brown's books, just about the Da Vinci Code and those. He really goes. He really goes. That's what. Well, if you watch the movies, which I can't. Honest to God, I can't stand the movies. The books are incredible. The movies I can't stand. Um, but that's what Tom Hanks played. That's the character he plays as a symbologist. He's a professor of symbology, and the stuff that they talk about, and these are real symbols, and they really give you the origin of these symbols and things like that. It's absolutely amazing, and they really go in depth in those. And like I said, this, unlike what we're talking about tonight, these symbols they actually give you the true meaning behind the symbols. There might not be in the Constitution of the United States, but they do give you Freemason symbols. They might not be in the Last Supper with by or whatever, but they do give you real symbols to use and to reference it by. And to me, like I said, I love the books. It looks like you're looking something else up.
Yeah. You know me, I can't help it.
Yeah. I was trying to think, and that's pretty much all about the movie. I mean, I don't want to ruin it for anyone. I watched it last night. I got it on HBO, and it's not the worst movie you're going to watch. It by far is not going to be the best movie you're going to watch, but it's entertaining. And it's like I said, it's good for a scare or two, and uh, they actually do play part of the actual exorcism at the end during the credits, and that I found fascinating. I would absolutely love to be able to document a real exorcism. And I mean, go there with full gear and document.
I mean, like be a guest of the, yeah, and actually have authorization to be there.
Right.
It would probably, I've never seen one, obviously, but it would probably change. It would probably change. I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to yawn, but I'm so tired.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up here in a second.
They know that we don't need one of those sleep a lot, so we're always kind of dragging. But it would probably change a lot of things if you could see something like that was really happening. It would give you a whole new outlook on, certainly on research, and maybe a lot of things would change on a personal level. You'd have to reevaluate probably a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely could see it. So, anything you want to put in for the night before we call it quits?
I can't think of anything. Anybody that wants to look up something for symbols, look up Solomon on Wikipedia, and look up the greater and lesser keys of Solomon. If you want to get into some symbology, it's the real deal symbols, and want to learn some stuff. I would suggest that you don't practice any of those things. Don't go drawing them, but reading about them is all right. Checking the stuff out. Symbols are a great subject. It's a fascinating field all
fascinating
unto its own, and it'll come up. It comes up a lot in paranormal research. You'll get depending on what part of the country you're in, you can see symbols on the side of barns and houses. And different things that you'll need to track down what they mean. So, yeah, by all means, symbols are a great thing to know about. Not just your own religion, but other religions also. So that when you see them, you know what they are. That's all I got.
All right. Well, then, giving out the shameless plugs here for a second. Of course, if you want to find us, we are still on Twitter at Twitter at Night Stalker Pod, Facebook at Night Stalker Pod, online at www.nightstalkerpod.com. See how we're getting creative with this? Very, just pretty much keeping with the flow. Paranormal Night Stalker on Twitch, and of course, drop by I Want to Believe YouTube and give us a like there at tinyurl.com/believe YouTube. So until now, actually, next Friday, we will not be doing the Paranormal 101 series because it's coming Friday. I will not be here unless we come in late. I have another thing that I'm going to be going to. So that might be Saturday, it might be Thursday. God knows with us. We kind of just do shit on the willy-nilly like.
We'll get it to
But
you.
we will get it out this week.
It'll be at some point.
So until the next time we're live, which whatever that may be, this is Joe signing off for Dr. Michael Smith. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. By all means, like I said, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscription, give us crap, give us whatever you want. And we will see you again next time.